Smile and Scars welcomes you to another unbelievable story today. We bring you an incident that shows what happens when arrogance meets legendary martial arts skill. If you are ready to witness a story that is as intense as it is jaw-dropping, then buckle up and stay tuned. It was a calm, sunny afternoon in downtown Los Angeles, a typical scene of traffic, honking cars, and bustling streets. Chuck Norris, the legendary martial artist and action star, was riding his motorcycle along the boulevard, enjoying a rare moment of peace amidst his busy life. The wind brushed past his face, the engine's purr under him was a familiar rhythm, and the world seemed normal for once. Little did he know, today would become an unforgettable story. As Chuck glided past a line of cars waiting at a red light, an arrogant cop, Officer Daniels, noticed him. Daniels was notorious in his precinct for having an inflated sense of authority, often letting his temper get the best of him. He had seen Chuck before, recognized him immediately, but instead of showing respect, a spark of misguided pride ignited in him. This officer had always wanted to assert dominance over someone, and today he believed it was his chance. Daniels pulled his patrol car aggressively alongside Chuck's bike, slamming on the brakes and leaning out the window. "Hey, buddy, step aside. I need to talk to you," he shouted, his tone dripping with authority. Chuck, calm and composed, slowed down, keeping his hands steady on the handlebars. He had encountered many confrontations in his life, both on the screen and in real life, but something about this man's arrogance set the stage for a conflict that would escalate quickly. The cop, visibly tense, took a step closer to Chuck's bike, blocking the lane. "You think you can just ride through here without consequences?" Daniels barked. "I don't care who you are. You need to follow the law." Chuck, ever calm, replied in a low, steady voice, "Officer, I'm following all rules. There's no reason for hostility." His words were measured, but his eyes reflected the awareness of a man trained in combat, a man who had seen thousands of situations that escalated far too quickly. Daniels, unwilling to acknowledge reason, suddenly reached out and grabbed the side of Chuck's motorcycle, attempting to force him off balance. "Move aside or face consequences," he shouted. In an instant, he shoved Chuck, trying to push him off his bike. The force was enough to shock any ordinary rider, but not Chuck Norris. With a split-second reflex honed from decades of martial arts mastery, Chuck stabilized himself, barely tilting, but never losing control. The street around them froze. Witnesses gasped as they realized the audacity of the officer's action. Pedestrians pulled out their phones, capturing every moment. Chuck, his calm demeanor never breaking, looked directly at Daniels. "You really shouldn't have done that," he said quietly, each word carrying an unspoken warning. Daniels, frustrated and embarrassed, attempted another aggressive move, leaning in with a menacing stance. He was certain that his authority and physical intimidation would overpower anyone, even a celebrity. But he had underestimated the reflexes and instincts of a man who had spent decades mastering combat arts. In the next few seconds, Chuck's movements were a blur to onlookers. With a swift motion, he tilted the bike slightly, causing Daniels to overreach and stumble forward. Chuck's experience allowed him to redirect the force, using the officer's momentum against him. In martial arts, every move of an opponent can be used to one's advantage, and Chuck demonstrated this perfectly. Daniels found himself off balance, unable to regain footing, his authority crumbling in an instant. The crowd watched, mouths open, as the arrogant officer attempted to recover. Chuck, still composed, kept his stance relaxed yet ready. "You need to think before you act," Chuck said firmly. Daniels froze for a moment, realizing that his actions had not only failed, but had put him in a vulnerable position. His attempts at intimidation were reversed in seconds, and the humiliation of the situation began to set in. From the sidelines, witnesses could see how quickly the scenario escalated from a routine stop to a demonstration of skill, control, and calm authority. The irony was evident. The man who thought he could assert dominance had been undone by someone who had trained every muscle, reflex, and instinct for situations exactly like this. Chuck's mastery was not about aggression, It was about precision, timing, and the ability to neutralize threats without unnecessary harm. Daniels, red, faced and shaking, finally stepped back, realizing that continuing the confrontation would be disastrous. Chuck, maintaining composure, calmly adjusted his gloves and mounted his bike. The crowd, now fully aware of the spectacle, erupted into whispers and cheers. The lesson had been delivered without a single punch, thrown recklessly, but with authority, timing, and undeniable skill. Chuck Norris rode off slowly, waving to onlookers, while Daniels stumbled back to his patrol car, humiliated and confused. The encounter left a mark on everyone present. It was a reminder that arrogance, when met with experience and skill, can lead to instant regret. For Chuck, it was another ordinary day of handling situations where others misjudged him. For Daniels, it was a lifetime lesson in respect, humility, and the consequences of underestimating a legend. As news spread across social media, the story of the highway confrontation became viral. Videos captured from bystanders highlighted the split-second maneuvers, the calm demeanor, and the overwhelming skill of Chuck Norris. Experts began analyzing the clip, praising the martial arts techniques applied in real-life scenarios. The incident reminded people that sometimes skill and experience outweigh brute force, and that true mastery is reflected in control, not chaos. Smile and Scars thanks you for joining this intense story of courage and skill. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unbelievable real-life encounters that showcase extraordinary talent. Remember, every action has a reaction, and respect is earned, not assumed. The crowd still buzzed with excitement as Chuck Norris calmly adjusted his gloves and mounted his bike. Officer Daniels, humiliated and shaken, struggled to regain composure. He had underestimated the quiet authority and lightning-fast reflexes of a man who had spent decades mastering martial arts. What had started as a routine traffic stop had turned into a life lesson that Daniels would never forget. Chuck looked at the officer with steady eyes, his calmness only intensifying the gravity of the moment. "You can't solve arrogance with aggression," he said, his voice low and controlled, "but you can learn from it." Daniels, realizing he had lost control of the situation, could barely respond. His previous attempts at intimidation had been neutralized effortlessly, leaving him feeling powerless and embarrassed in front of everyone witnessing the scene. As the crowd continued to watch, Chuck Norris slowly revved the engine, not out of threat, but to regain the flow of normalcy. Bystanders whispered to each other, amazed at how a simple motorcycle stop had turned into a real-life demonstration of martial arts mastery. The video clips from the onlookers' phones began to circulate instantly online, and within minutes, the story was trending across social media. People all over the city were amazed that a single officer's arrogance had been so effectively countered by skill and composure. Officer Daniels finally stepped back, his pride in tatters. He had learned that underestimating someone with decades of experience could lead to instant regret. The other officers arriving on the scene were careful to keep their distance, knowing that further provocation would be foolish. Chuck remained calm, but his presence alone conveyed a silent warning. Skill and precision are far more dangerous than impulsive force. Chuck Norris's reputation was legendary, but this encounter reminded everyone that legends are not just built on films. They are earned through real-world experience, discipline, and unshakable composure. Witnesses described how every movement Chuck made was precise, measured, and designed to neutralize threat without unnecessary violence. The lesson was clear. Arrogance is often short-lived when confronted with mastery and awareness. As Daniels climbed back into his patrol car, he avoided eye contact with anyone around him. The crowd, however, continued to watch, murmuring about what they had just witnessed. Chuck slowly rode off, waving at the spectators, maintaining his calm aura, and leaving behind a powerful message. Respect and caution are the true markers of strength. Onlookers began to approach the scene to speak with Chuck. One bystander asked, "How do you stay so calm in such situations?" Chuck replied, "Discipline, training, and knowing that every action has a consequence." Reacting impulsively never solves anything. Planning and precision always do. This response encapsulated the philosophy that had guided him throughout his life, both on and off screen. Meanwhile, social media exploded with posts and videos capturing the exact moment Daniels had tried to push Chuck off his motorcycle. Comments poured in from people around the world, praising Chuck's composure, skill, and the lesson he delivered without causing unnecessary harm. Martial artists analyzed the clips, noting how Chuck used the officer's momentum against him, demonstrating the fundamental principle of using an opponent's force to neutralize aggression. For Daniels, the aftermath was harsh. He faced scrutiny from his superiors and colleagues, and his arrogance became a cautionary tale within the department. Chuck's calm, decisive response had not only protected himself, but also delivered a clear message about respect, authority, and skill. The officer realized, painfully, that no badge or physical size could substitute for experience, awareness, and mastery. Chuck continued down the boulevard, leaving a trail of whispers, awe, and admiration behind him. The incident became a symbol for everyone witnessing it. Arrogance is fleeting, but discipline and mastery are lasting. This real-life encounter reinforced why Chuck Norris's name remains synonymous with skill, respect, and legendary capability. Later that evening, videos of the confrontation were analyzed on martial arts forums, news outlets, and even law enforcement training discussions. Experts highlighted the importance of controlling one's actions, even when faced with authority figures, and how experience and calm judgment can neutralize threats quickly and efficiently. Chuck Norris's example became a case study in using discipline and reflex to assert control in high-pressure situations. The city continued its evening bustle, but for those who witnessed it, the lesson was unforgettable. Chuck Norris didn't need to shout, fight recklessly, or prove dominance through brute force. His mastery was evident in his posture, his calm, and the precision with which he handled a potentially dangerous situation. The arrogant officer, on the other hand, learned a lifetime lesson in humility, caution, and respect. In the days that followed, the story of the highway confrontation was shared worldwide. Videos went viral, and people marveled at the seamless blend of calm composure and martial expertise. It served as a reminder that true power lies not in aggression, but in skill, awareness, and the ability to respond rather than react. Smile and Scars thanks you for joining us today in this unforgettable real-life story of skill, composure, and the instant consequences of arrogance. Subscribe to our channel for more unbelievable encounters where heroes demonstrate discipline, courage, and unmatched mastery.